On the committee, the issue with government, the Nigerian government, for instance, will be the distraction now. I mean, election year. This year, next year. So how would that marry with the need to focus and ensure that policies are put on ground and they are able to run with?
I will say to that a major thing perhaps our politicians should begin to think about is legacy. Because oftentimes most of them come into the office and they don't think of legacy. Now, if we think in that direction, that means I recognize that, yes, I might be willing to contest again for the same office I occupy now. But let's face it, if truly I will get Nigerians to vote for me, then I will focus on important deliverables that will in fact make their lives better, in which case I can point to those things that were achieved while I was in office. Now, if I happily win the election, that means I'm coming back next time. So in which case I have opportunity to do more. But ultimately, I also realize that no matter how long it takes, I will eventually leave the office. In which case, when I leave, what will Nigerians remember me for? And that's the legacy issue. Now, if most of our people in public offices think of this, then the kind of policies, as you said, that they will think of and their own commitment to the execution, which has been the major area of problem for Nigeria. Commitment to execution will also be, more important to them than merely making the pronouncements.
Will the ease of doing business World Bank Index be one of the good ways to assess all these policies that are put in place?
I tell you, it's if our policymakers are really, really serious about policies, it's a report they should take seriously. And I say that with every sense of responsibility here. Now, the Doing Business report is published annually, coming from surveys all around the world. But if you look at the record of Nigeria in the last, let me say, 10 years, because I keep close watch on this, and what I ask myself every time I see the report come out is, which position is Nigeria? Number one,
we happen to be the lowest in these eight countries.
And then secondly, I ask myself, who are the leaders? The leading 3 countries in the world, as far as that report is concerned. Now, why are they leaders? Because the report always states it. So when I pick out the 5 reasons those countries are the leaders in doing business. So if I were in government, those are the areas I will look at in terms of reforms. And of course, if we reform our economy in line with that, then we are simply telling ourselves that we recognize that we are competing for investors' funds. Now, we are happy in Nigeria, for example, that in the last 1 to 3 years, we've attracted 10% of FDIs that came to Africa. Good enough. But shouldn't we aspire to attract a lot more? And that is the way I look at all this. It's not a matter of just getting the statistics to bandy around, but how do we do more of that which is positive? And that is where the Doing Business report comes in here.
What do you also have to say to those who are skeptical about conferences, who just see them as talk shops? For instance, we're just coming from Davos, where it was focused on Africa. We had our own time there. And then now we're hosting the world in Nigeria. Why do you think we need all of these conferences? And what are we able to measure the results that come out of them?
It's a very good question you raised here. And that was actually my thought about our active involvement at Davos, and now that we are hosting the world in the World Economic Forum for Africa. Now, the key thing when you go to such, events, let me call it event now, is to ask yourself, why am I going there? And if I meet with top business people in the world, about 2,500 of them, maybe another 300 or more of, government agents and representatives. So now we have a room filled up with close to 3,000 people. Now, what am I going there to do as a government representative? I am looking for people I can sell Nigeria to. I want to also hear them tell me what they require for them to come to Nigeria to set up businesses that will create jobs. I want to also bring on board what I hear from other countries' representatives. How have they done it? In which case, I'm not going there to drink tea with those who are at the same level with me, but those who attract more investors to their countries. I want to talk to them in Turkey. How have you done it? How did you get where you are? I want to ask those in South Africa, because as of today, that is the only economy in Africa that is ahead of Nigeria's economy. So what have they done? So all of these are things how we go to such events to get out, which will now inform the policies that we will generate therefrom. In which case, the essence is not just to attend. The essence is to gain ideas, and those ideas that will bring new initiatives in the form of reforms. If we haven't done that, then it comes to the concern you raised, which means it's merely a talk show.
But should we be saying we are going to limit the amount of conferences that we attend, or can we have too many? Is it possible?
I won't say we can have too many. Where we can have a problem is the value we get out of those kind of conferences. Because in reality, when you go to a conference, you are not attending because you will hear only new things all through. There are many things you will hear that you've heard before. There are many things you as a delegate have probably have even spoken about at conferences as a guest speaker. But what you are looking out for is just one idea that can make the whole difference to your own business as a business person, or to your country as a government representative. And that is the kind of mindset I expect everyone that is going for the conference to have. What new idea are we going to get from here that if we execute, will make the difference in our country?
But one thing that we've consistently focused on, they've talked about this for a long time, which if they do, will certainly boost the economy and perhaps creation of jobs. Access to funds and interest rates.
Great.
Because the firms who are here, the SMEs, this is what they're struggling with.
Yeah, this is something that has been repeatedly said, and also several studies have been done. I've been privileged to be involved in a few of those studies. Okay. Now, I was also the leader of the credit market team when the FSS 2020 project was being crafted. And what we adopted then as our mission for the credit market in Nigeria by year 2020 is to make credit available, make it accessible, and make it affordable. And we branded it as democratized credit. Okay? So the issue now is that the government also should pay attention to that. Access to credit is important, and of course the cost of it. Because if the cost of credit still remains high, there's no how you are going to grow the SMEs. And it is also a well-known fact that any economy that wants to grow must give special attention to the SMEs. They create more jobs, number one, and they also provide faster growth in the light of the principle of the small vis-a-vis the big. Okay? So until we pay attention to that, we might not get realize the full potential of the growth prospects that Nigeria has.
Would you also say, to an extent, that we seem to be crowding out our local investors somewhat?
Well, in a way, because if local investors will be encouraged, then the cost of credit to them has to be addressed, number one. And then number two, we must create policies that deliberately encourage local investors. And we have many cases around the world of how governments did it and got their local investors to become big players.
So from your own assessment, would you say that we've done our homework well? Have we done what we ought to do in-house in such a way that we can say now we're looking outside?
We can do a lot more and indeed much better than what we have done thus far.
Okay, so it will be an interesting conference to hold when it does happen later this year. Thank you for coming on. Biodun Adedipe is an economist, and we've been looking at the World Economic Forum for Africa, which will hold in Abuja this year.